Hello everyone and welcome to Whisky Wednesday. Today we're doing something very unique. It is, as far as I'm aware, the first ever blended malt, which is English whiskey and Scottish whiskies, or whiskies, because there's more than one in it. Now it's made by the Lakes Distillery. It's called Steel Bonnets, named after an old sort of troop of people between the Scottish and English border who used to go thieving and probably didn't really have any true allegiance with themselves, and they used to wear steel hats, so you know, steel bonnets. This is a cross of Scottish and English whiskey, so they've decided to run with that theme. Pretty cool bottle, pretty nice case that it comes in. A first release. It's bottled at 46.6%. It's natural colour, it's non-chill filtered, all of these beautiful things. I'm a fan of the Lakes Distillery. Geographically, they're my closest whiskey distillery and a gin distillery too. I actually quite like the gins, they do some really nice stuff. I was impressed with the one, which is their sort of British blend. It's got a naturally sweet tinge to it. Works well, it's very utilitarian, you know, straight up, ice, cocktails, all that kind of thing. But this is the first malt style, be it a blended malt, with their single malt coming out next year. So the Scottish whiskies that are in it, I'm unaware of. We'll talk about more of that on the nose and we'll kind of take a couple of guesses. But this does contain their whiskey, which is anywhere between sort of 3.5 to maybe 4 years old. So let's have a smell, let's have a taste, and we'll talk to you all more about it. It's a good old mix of many different things. You do get a bit of a spirity style with it, so that's probably their whiskey pulling through. We don't know what the oldest thing in it is, but we don't know what the youngest thing in it is either. There's a little bit of a kind of like a clean green spirit flavour running around the back. I do get a little bit of smoke. It reminds me kind of like an Ardmore or like a kind of old school Glengarry kind of smoke. It's very floral, it's not loads. In fact, Glengarry in general, I think, is quite a good comparison. It's got like a waxiness to it. There's almost like a lemon skin kind of Klein leash element to it as well. I'd even go as far as to say it's a little bit salty too. But the smoke does remind me quite a bit of Ardmore or Glengarry. I'd probably put strong money on one of the whiskies being Ardmore or Glengarry. Other than that, there's quite a lot of things. It's kind of coastal. There's some nice kind of ripe fruit notes. Yeah. Quite an interesting nose. Many things going on. Quite complex. And you just get that little kind of, that slight tingle of 46% as well, or 46.6%. Interesting. Kind of different. It's like butterscotch note to it as well. But let's have a taste and see where that lies. It's very thick, which again is reminding me of things like Klein leash and Glengarry. Starts off sweet. We get like that butterscotch thing again, like a little bit of fudge. I'm almost tasting like a tiny bit of brown sugar. And then it develops into like an almost typical like Highland style flavour profile. It's like a bit of pear, it's a little bit of apple. I'm getting a little bit of, I don't want to say milk chocolate, it's more like a white chocolate. One more go, see where it lies. The finish is really interesting. It's got like almost like a jalapeno, like habanero, really subtle chili spice with it. The saltiness is coming back through, but it's like a savoury saltiness. That's kind of like reminding me of a slight bit of soy sauce, but in like a complimentary way, like, you know, salt complements food. There's a lot going on with it. Also, the one thing that is a little bit unusual is the price point. It's £65, which I suppose these days isn't too unusual for a non-age statement whiskey. It is a first release product, so I don't know if this is being a more of a collector's market, because it has just picked up a gold medal award as well, which is quite interesting. One thing I hope for the future is that I hope Lakes don't go like too premium with things and kind of like ostracize the everyday buyer. £65 isn't a lot of money in the grand scheme of what is around me, but for a whiskey that is a blended malt, but it's still like loads of booze, natural colour, really interesting cask selection and really interesting flavour, I think the price up front would put a few people off, but I guarantee with the awards some more people are probably looking into it. But I'd say the price is the only downside, and it's not a massive downside. It's maybe like 10 quid too expensive for most people, but that's just my opinion. I'd imagine the sales of this are doing fairly well, because otherwise, you know, we would have heard about it if it wasn't. Smoke's coming out a little bit more now, just going back to smelling it again. But a really interesting flavour profile, and something that when I first tried it I wasn't expecting. You know, it's a little bit sweet, a little bit spicy, a little bit smoky. It fulfills all criteria that a blended malt should. Blended malts are extremely underrated products. It gives you a massive complex flavour range of numerous different distillery types, and I'm quite a big fan of them. For that score, I'm going to give it like a solid 7.5. If this is what the Lakes have to offer, fair enough, only one of the whiskies in it is theirs, and the smoke and some of the other things that dominate the flavour profile. But if this is something that the Lakes have in mind for the future in terms of a flavour profile for their own whiskey, amazing, like unbelievable. I do wish them the best of luck with everything. They don't need my luck, they're doing quite well already. But genuinely impressive, and it's something that I will be purchasing in the future for my own drinking habits. So thank you very much to the Lakes, because they sent me a little sample of it. Solid 7.5, great outlook for the future. If you get the opportunity to try it, please do make your own minds up. Don't just listen to me, do taste it if you can. But a solid 7.5. So this is The Whisky Shop, I'm Phil, and we will see you all next week. Cheers.